I hit the jackpot when I met Victor, who I married in 2004. First of all, thirst trap. He looked like the movie star Chow Yun-fat. And he had a PhD in education from Stanford. He was every Asian American parent's wet dream. We struggled to get and stay pregnant, but when our daughter Vivian finally arrived in 2011, Victor and I were all in, and he was just as I expected. As a former teacher, totally on top of all things learning. But unfortunately, we didn't get that far. On Vivian's last day of second grade, Victor went to the emergency room for shortness of breath, but it wasn't COVID. It was a heart attack of the worst kind called the Widowmaker. And over the next week, Victor was on life support. He suffered a hemorrhagic stroke that the machine put him into, and he didn't survive emergency neurosurgery. My husband of 16 years died in my arms at the age of 49, and this is our daughter saying goodbye. We buried Victor on a beautiful hill in his home state and began the hard work of grieving during a pandemic. And as a journalist, solo mom, and now widow, I was angry and I was wondering, this is so rude. Why did this happen? I wrote about it, and I started delving into his medical charts. I talked to his doctors and nurses, and I found out that Victor had suffered from untreated depression and diabetes burnout. He declined psychotherapy and drugs for major depression. He stopped taking his insulin, and he's missed and skipped a lot of doctor's appointments. And I suspect that this is a lot of you. Jameson Jones was a cross-country runner whose left testicle started growing more painful. But he was so embarrassed that he didn't tell his moms about it. Testicular cancer is curable 95% of the time when caught early, but at 20, Jameson died of embarrassment. Two of my uncles died within 3 weeks of each other. At my uncle's funeral, the one in the middle died on his way to the hospital. The first one didn't have time to even call for help. So men across the lifespan and around the world are dying of preventable causes. And there's data now that shows that deep-seated masculinity beliefs, they are aligned with they're aligned with poor seeking of preventive care. A lot of you probably think that you're healthy, but actually you might be unhealthy if you're not going to the doctor, and you might not know it. You might die suddenly, you might die of a disease that slowly kills you. And some of you might right now be ignoring the signs. Opening up for psychological pain is key. 80% of all suicides are men. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with appearing emotionally resilient or self-sufficient, but when that is for the sake of manliness is affecting your well-being, that's a problem. Men who are depressed are less likely to seek support and talk therapies like a lot of depressed women do, and that leads them to substance abuse and suicide. But even in the face of tragedy, I found that connection and community can be a beautiful thing. This is a Club WID, a social club, a meetup group that I started for Gen X and younger widows. We see that the men in the group, when they're standing shoulder to shoulder with each other, rebuilding the lives we've been asked to live, talk it out, and that might be something that you might like to explore that makes you more comfortable opening up. So what does it mean to man up? The way things are going right now, manning up is a man down. So why don't we flip the script? Manning up, which means to do something bravely, would be being brave to go to the doctor, taking care of your loved ones, taking care of the future that you want to have with your family, being there so you can see your daughter grow up, graduate, get married, have grandchildren. And taking care of yourself is taking care of your loved ones. So I encourage you all, please go to the doctor, find someone that you trust, open up and get connected to others. So when's your next physical? I don't want to see your partner in our club. Thanks very much.